Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Keegan. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit that subscribe button and to leave your opinions down in the comment section. Lana Del Rey, Norman fucking Rockwell. Elizabeth Grant, also known as Lana Del Rey, is an American singer and songwriter who I actually am fairly familiar with, as I have previously reviewed an album of hers on my channel. Ah, yes, my Lust for Life review, the first album review that I properly wrote a script for. I'll leave a card for that somewhere in one of the corners here, I don't know which one. It was a transformation for my channel, and also a fairly big step for Lana, as that featured her first collaborations, some of which were better than others. But aside from that, I thoroughly enjoyed that album, and it was so close to cracking my love list. Unfortunately, while this is a viewer suggestion, it won't be placed on that playlist even if it does score above an 8 or higher, so let's see how good the album is regardless. Let's start this review off with the singles, with there being 4 of them. The first one being Mariner's Apartment Complex, which really set things into motion practically a full year before the album came out. This song is poetry in motion right here, even down to lyrics and vocals. Lana's elegant and delicate voice propels this song, despite it taking a fairly long time to get started, with the first chorus coming in almost halfway through the entire song. It's almost like a combination of Lana's previous efforts, like folk, bit of a darker rock tinge, all mixed into one. This is a fantastic teaser track for the album. It's hauntingly gorgeous and an overall experience of a song. The second single, Venice Bitch, has already got me a bit worried, because if you've been on this channel for any amount of time, you know that I don't overly enjoy unnecessarily long songs. And this one is 9.5 minutes long, and by about the 6-minute mark, I thought I was about done with the song. I kinda expected the drums and psychedelic solos to close out the song, but then it just builds up into this wall of sound. In all honesty, this really is a textbook formula for a long song, enough to spread a message yet still remain captivating at the entire time. However, after a couple of repeated listens, I think it's safe to say that I won't be keeping this song around. It just starts to sound less and less like a cohesive idea the more I repeatedly listen to it. It's not a bad song at all. In fact, I probably will return to it every now and then, but it's nothing I'm going to actively keep around. The third single, one of the longest titles I've seen in a long time, Hope is a Dangerous Thing for a Woman Like Me to Have, but I Have It. The closer of the album, actually, which blew my mind when I first heard it. It's just some of the most poetic lyrics in this entire album. The line that really got me was, "Don't ask if I'm happy, you know that I'm not. But at best I can say I'm not sad." It is a gorgeous closer, down to the melancholic piano, and Lana's haunting vocals make the song probably one of the best on the album. And fourth and final single, Do in Time, which is a Sublime cover, and the only cover on this album. This song completely ditches any of the hip-hop elements the original song had, and Lana turns it into a summertime anthem that you would drive down a highway to with the top down. It's got a nice, relaxing, soothing tone to it, especially when it comes to Lana's whispering the lyrics, which only accentuates that summer feeling. It's a nice cover, but in all honesty, it's really nothing special in the long run. It's probably my least favorite single on the album. So yeah, the singles got me pretty damn excited overall. Now for the rest of the songs. The title track, Norman fucking Rockwell, is a very subtle opener, and Lana just simply leaving us with a very organic and pure piano and angelic strings, and her soft, lovely, bordering on sarcastic vocal passages. Yet despite how muted the overall instrumental is, the vibe is very grandiose, sweeping, and epic all around. Lyrically, we get this concept of a man-child mediocre poet who blames the news for his said mediocrity. It's a very fitting opener. It's engaging, it's entrancing, and makes me want to hear what Lana's going to project on this album. Fuck It, I Love You serves as a bit of a lighter moment on this album, despite the title. We get more of a pop feel here when it comes to the melodies and instrumentation. The song feels a bit more alive sonically because of it, and it's a nice change. However, of course, there is a lot more emotion and catharsis in the lyrical content, which is essentially about taking alcohol and drugs and then gaining a sudden realization about the grander scheme of life. It's actually pretty tough to listen to when you dive into that depth, with a lot less emotion on the verses than the chorus, but it just feels right at home on this album. Love Song is a very self-explanatory song with the title, but it's also quite deceiving if you actually pay attention to it. There's this constant lingering fear of the lyrics of this relationship failing, and it's especially tough with Lana sounding so broken, weak, and fragile. Like she could break into tears at any second in this song. Sonically, it's one of the more muted and minimalistic songs here, with some very faded strings and a warm, relaxing piano. It's a wonderfully sad song, and in all honesty, probably one of my favorites on this album. Cinnamon Girl is a little bit of a nostalgic turn with some nods to her first album. The main point that proves this is the lyrics, where it's mainly about this toxic, unhealthy relationship, but just leaving it be in the long run. However, it's got more maturity on it than her debut would, so it still fits in snugly on this record. The chorus features some of the best and entrancing melodies on the entire album, and while the strings are not as powerful or angelic as previous songs, they still enhance the song long enough, and also the outro goes on for a little bit too long in my opinion, but despite that extremely minor critique, it's a lovely song. How to Disappear completely sets a different tone. Up until this point we've had soft, melancholic ballads, but this song brings in a little bit of a groove, almost to the point where I could see this being played at some sort of nightclub as a slow song. As we get some tambourines and a swaying rhythm, lyrically it's just about yet another off-the-rails relationship, and how even after years of moving on, she'll never be able to fully forget this guy out of her head. This is the song to check out from the album. I highly recommend it. It's a full-blown standout. California is yet another beautiful song, returning to the traditional Lana sound. The chorus goes on for a full minute here, which from any other artist would be completely ludicrous, but for Lana, I think it's her specialty. The song stands out to me mainly due to her vocals. It's one of the best performances she's given in a long time, possibly in her entire career. There's a lot of different tones and emotions in her delivery. It's hard to pinpoint how she's feeling at any one time throughout the song. Lyrically, it's simply about begging a former lover to return to America, specifically California, as that's where they first met. Despite being 5 minutes long, it really doesn't feel like it in the long run. It's a wonderful song. The Next Best American record has a lot more of that folk feeling that Lust for Life had, which, in all honesty, actually makes sense because this song was meant to show up on that record, and was rumored to be the title of that record. In all honesty, this song really doesn't fit in that well with the rest of the album. It's an extremely slow burn, a lot slower than a majority of the songs on here. Lyrically, it's about how a relationship has lost its flame because they were so obsessed with writing the Next Best American record. It's probably the most forgettable song on the album, so this one's probably a pass for me. The Greatest kind of picks things up a little bit. We actually get some guitar this time around, which is awesome to hear. The overall song is grand. It feels big, especially in its instrumentation, and Lana's vocals as well, which have this nice balance between heartbreaking and slightly tongue-in-cheek. Lyrically, it's got some good double entendres, and also slightly delving into climate change and Kanye West being blonde and gone. It's a very stunning song. Bartender is quite a unique song, especially when it comes to melodies, which are very top-notch. Also, the chorus is one of the best on this entire album, even featuring a little bit of stuttering from Lana, which is a very bizarre and almost undetectable touch on first listen, but it actually sounds pretty nice. Lana's vocals this time around are extremely lush and gentle. This song would be a nice lullaby. Even without that feature, it's still a very nice song. And finally, Happiness is a Butterfly, which actually features, in my opinion, one of the most passionate, strong, and intense vocal performances of her entire career. She seems really in the forefront, especially on the chorus where she heavily overpowers lovely piano and strings. She's singing about how happiness is something she's trying to catch every night, even though at the end she's crying in the backseat with this guy's sweater on. It's one of the most beautiful songs in this album. Overall, it's extremely easy and safe to say that Norman Fucking Rockwell is easily the best album of Lana's career. At least up to this point, and from what I've heard, it's also probably one of the best albums of the year. Almost every single track could be labeled as a standout from this album, or even for her entire career. It's such a step up in songwriting, performance, and lyrical ability from her last albums. It's hauntingly soft and gorgeously ethereal. I'm honestly feeling about a 9 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.